Guys, real quick before we get into the video, you might notice, you might not, but I am shooting a new arrow build now. These things are absolutely zip into the targets. So if you guys do want to see a build on it, I'm not going to give too much away, but I will just say that they are the lightest arrows that I've ever shot in a hunting capacity. So like this video, let me know down in the comments below if you do want to see an arrow build on that. I have a dozen built already, but I have a dozen more that are still bare shaft, need to tune them, need to cut them, need to do everything to them. So I can do a full in-depth arrow build on how I get super light, super accurate arrows. So yeah, let me know if that's something you want to see, but let's get to the video. Gentlemen, and the one lady who I hope sees this one day, because turns out my analytics are 100% male. So until then, it's just for the boys. But today we are getting into sight tapes. Sight tapes are really important, especially if you have a moving sight like I do here. There is a lot that can go into them. Now there's a lot of ways to build sight tapes. Different companies have different methods. All it comes down to is getting the spacing between yardages correct, so you know that when you move your sight, you're moving to a specific yardage. I'm gonna go over how I build my sight tapes, and it's really pretty standard across the board for any sight manufacturer. The thing that I do at the end is going to be what is kind of different, what I don't see a lot of people do, but it's really something, especially if you want to shoot out to distance. You know, everyone's shooting tacks now. Everyone's, going out, just taking longer shots in practice. Hopefully that translates to being able to take longer ethical shots in hunting. You don't want to get too much dip on your chip and try to shoot out too far at a deer. But if you're trying to take longer shots, the last tip that I have here at the end of building this sight tape is really important. So we're going to go into building a quick sight tape, doing the last little bit that I do, and then I'm going to go through on the 3D course here and shoot it. So let's get right into it. So for starters, I'm going to say that this sight tape is already built. It's pretty much ready to go. I might need to go down a sight tape because these arrows are pretty fast. For any of you guys who shoot CBE right now, I am on a 4 sight tape, probably going to have to go down to 3. To start off, you need your first reference point. Now, most manufacturers recommend that that is 20 yards. So we're going to real quick turn my sight tape down to 20 yards. For the sake of this video, let's say that it is a reference tape. So I'm just going to imagine that I have the 20-yard mark on my reference tape here. I'm going to know where that is and shoot it in, make sure that it's hitting correct. Now there's no one else on the range, so I am going to be shooting diagonal. Don't do that if you are trying to sight in at the range. Be courteous. Okay, so I shot a 20-yard group. I know that 20 yards is hitting on that yardage mark. So if this was a reference tape, I would go ahead, just make a mark at where my 20 yards is. Then after that, you want to go ahead and shoot out to a distance. Really, you can shoot, 20 to 50, 20 to 40, 20 to 60. All you need is 2 reference marks that you can match up with that different sight tape and find out where your arrows are dropping to over a certain amount of distance. I try to recommend shooting out as far as you can, because the further you shoot and get basically data on that arrow drop, the more accurate your sight tape's gonna be. This range only goes to 60 yards, so I'm gonna go ahead and shoot out to 60 here. Once again, I know this sight tape is pretty much correct, so I'm gonna go ahead and shoot 60 here real quick and then be good to go. All right, that is 60. So I'm gonna go ahead on my reference tape here and make a mark where 60 yards is. And then I'm gonna go pull my arrows and I'll talk through it here after. Okay, so you have your 60-yard mark, you have your 20-yard mark. Now, most people and most sight manufacturers, when you go through, they recommend that you just take those 2 reference points, find a sight tape that matches up your 20 and 60 with those 2 marks, slap that baby on, and you have a sight tape that's ready to go. That is good until you start shooting out to distance. Once you go past 60 yards, once you go past 70 yards, even depending on how your peep is set up, once you go past like 40 yards, you're gonna notice that your nose is gonna be really compressed down into that string, and it's gonna add a lot of unnecessary face pressure. Face pressure is not good because it's gonna mess up the tune of your arrow. And also when you're just shooting at a distance, it's not comfortable. So the one little secret step that I always add in is going to be after you have your 20 to 60 yards marked, you're going to move your peep to where it's comfortable at, I don't know, I'd say 45, 50, around there. That being is that when you're at 20 yards, you're going to be able to pick your nose up off of your string just a little bit, just have a little bit of pressure on there instead of your normal amount. And I mean, let's be honest, it's sub 40 yards, so you're not going to need to be insanely accurate. But when you get out to distance, you're going to be more comfortable. So when you're shooting out to that 45, 50, 60, 70 yards, you're going to have normal face pressure on that string there. And then when you're shooting past that to maybe 80, 90, 100, if you're shooting out at like TAC events or something like that, you're not going to need to add a super large amount of face pressure, but you're going to be able to add enough that you're going to be able to line up that peep there. Now, you might be thinking, Josh, if I move my peep sight, it's going to mess up how my sight is set to go. It's going to mess up how my sight is sighted. That is not true. What it's going to do is going to mess up your reference point for your sight tape. So you are going to need to move your peep sight and then go back to 20 and move your whole sight housing, have that macro adjustment and resight your 20-yard pin. It's not going to change your sight tape at all because you're moving your peep sight so minutely. It's going to be, I mean, maybe a 32nd of an inch at most to get comfortable from 20 yards to 40 yards, that it's not really changing the distance between your peep sight and your actual scope housing enough to make any difference to your sight tape. At the end of the day, your sight tape is just a visual representation of how much gravity is affecting your arrow before it gets to a target at a certain distance, and moving your peep sight isn't going to change gravity. Now, if you move your sight closer in or further out, or if you change your draw length or something like that, you are going to have to resight that sight tape, but you don't need to do that for this little tip. You just need to move your peep sight down so it's comfortable at 40 yards so you can shoot at distance without jamming your nose down into the string. So that is my little secret sauce to building a sight tape. I have never really gone with manufacturers' recommendations to get like, oh, get your 20-yard pin, then your 50, and then go out and get this different distance. There's a whole lot of extra steps that manufacturers recommend. At the end of the day, shooting at 20 and 60, lining up your sight tape and throwing that on the scale is going to work. You don't really need to do anything more than that. There are those programs that you can, make a sight tape with, and you can have them electronically built and shipped to you and mailed to you. If you really want a super accurate sight tape, you can try that. I'm not sure how much more accurate they are. I've never felt a need to shoot one of those sight tapes. So that's just my opinion. That's my 2 cents. You guys take it for what you will. But now that this thing is sighted in and ready to go, now let's go take it on the walkthrough range. We're gonna shoot a couple targets with it and just kind of see how it goes and get out of this atrocious lighting. It's not golden hour, as they say. So let's get into it. We're gonna go ahead, go through and shoot some of these targets. I'm just gonna go ahead, call out distances and just kind of walk you through any technical shots that I run into. Before I do that though, I am gonna ask you guys to subscribe and turn on notifications and give me some input, whether it be liking this video or leaving a comment down below. If you guys like more kind of slow-paced outdoor shooting videos going through courses, if you guys are just dopamine fiends and you want really fast-paced, quick tip videos, kind of more YouTube Shorts style, or if you want a mix of both, comment down below. I do have a couple ideas for videos that are gonna be coming out here. Like I said, that arrow build video that I'm gonna be making. And then also, I am planning on making my own 3D range out at our cabin this summer. So if you guys have any input on that, what type of shots you want to see, if you have like different technical shots that you have in mind, let me know down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's get right into it with the first target here. It is a hog, and I'll let you know the distance in just 1 second. Alrighty, we got the hog here at 28. I'm gonna shoot one more and go for his ear there. There's a whole lot of white in that target. So let's shoot for a little bit of a darker spot. There we go. A little low, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a second arrow in that thing. It is at a bit of a downward angle here, so I didn't really draw at the target. I'm gonna go ahead and do that this time. Oh, that was much better. Okay, so on that target right there, on the second arrow, I said I was gonna draw at the target because I didn't do that the first time. And since it's a little bit of a downward slope, I needed to. What I mean by that, let's say that there's an imaginary 45-degree target here that I'm shooting at down this hill. If I get ready and draw back and have my shoulders set level and then try to hinge at the hips or go down, your shoulders are going to get out of order there. They're just not going to be in line. And when you are shooting archery, shoulder alignment is really everything. Your hips can be any sort of way you want. They definitely should be a certain way, but you can get away with them being kind of out of order. But if your shoulders aren't aligned, you're going to have tons of problems. So the easiest way to get balanced and get on target with a shot is to draw at the target. So I'll just show you here. It is a lot harder for me to draw back and then hinge down and keep my shoulders in line than it is, let down here, for me to just draw in line with my shoulders and keep them straight down that way. I definitely recommend drawing at your target, not drawing back level and then pivoting and hinging to your target. You're gonna run into a lot less trouble if you're drawing straight at your target. Okay, last two shots for the day. We have this hog down here at 24, pretty much straight downhill, and then this cougar here at 23 with a slight side hill shot. So I'm gonna go into how to shoot a side hill and then just kind of wrap up. So I'll start off with the side hill. Basically, with a side hill shot, if you are facing into a hill or facing away from a hill, either way, you want to lean your bow into the hill. Reason being is that gravity is naturally going to want to take your bow downhill. So since this slope is going from left to right, I'm facing it, I'm going to draw back, and I'm basically imagining that I'm pushing my top cam to the left of me. So my bubble is going to be a little bit false at first, but as I'm pulling through that shot and not necessarily focusing on how to level my bow and keeping it level, it's going to gradually go back in. And hopefully if your shot timing lines up, which almost all the time it does, unless you have a super short or super long shot, your bubble is going to be somewhere in that sweet spot where it's going to go off and you're going to shoot a level shot. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that here. It's not super drastic. I mean, you aren't trying to draw your bow sideways like crossbow. You're just maybe wanting to put a little 10 to 15 degree angle into that hill. So let's go ahead and do that here real quick. Into the hill, and then as I pull through, it's gonna come on back. There we go. Perfect shot. That was either a 12 or a 10. I'm shooting on today, what can I say? Imagine bragging about a 23-yard shot. I don't know what I'm doing. But shooting into the hill and kind of adding on that side hill shooting method is really important because, I mean, if you're out spotting and stalking, or if you're shooting into a side hill on a mule deer, elk, whitetail, really whatever you're shooting into, you don't want to have a false read on your bubble, because basically that's taking the pin and moving it in a different orientation, and then you're compensating for it, moving it back over to where you think the pin should be. But in all reality, that is basically going to make the arrow shoot more to the left if your arrow, or if your pin is canted to the right, and more to the right if your pin is canted to the left. So level shooting is very, very important. And that's why we have levels in our sights. So you should probably use them. Okay, this hog here at 24, let's get right into it. Straight downhill shot. I'm gonna go ahead and draw into the target. So I line up and I'm right on it, get to my click, and then just make the shot happen. Really good shot. That hit down in the 10 ring as well. Maybe another 12. So let's go check and we'll be good to go. Ooh. I don't know, I think that would be a 12. If the vitals are true there, lining up with it. There we go. Over here, one is definitely a 12. I think that's kind of a 10-8 liner. So not the best it could have been. Okay, well, that is going to wrap things up for the day. Guys, if you enjoyed anything in this video, make sure you click that like button. It helps me a ton to know what you guys enjoy. If you have any input, make sure you guys comment down below. Any ideas, anything you want to see, anything that I could be doing better. I love archery. That's really what it comes down to: bow hunting, target shooting, working on bows, whatever it is. So if you guys want to see something, it gives me an excuse to do it. So I would appreciate it. If you guys want to stick around and help me get to that 500 subscriber number, we are getting closer and closer. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for it. Maybe I'll release that arrow build video for 500 subscribers, but help me get closer to that number. Subscribe. It is free. I would really appreciate it. we're about 50-50 with people who are subscribed who watch the videos and people who aren't. So that other 50%, please subscribe, guys. You've made it this far in the video anyways, but until I see you guys in the next video, I hope you have an absolutely blessed time. I will see you guys in the next one.